When you read a script and just read through it as a reader, say you're thinking, what am I going to do this play?
Mm-hmm.
No, even before that. You're thinking, what play might I want to do? So you're just reading around different plays and so forth. You read through it just like an audience sits through it. You don't have any presumptions or whatever else. You're not trying to turn the play into anything. You just read the information and see what happens to you. Well, the actors do that too. They read it the very first time through. That, you know, when they say we're casting for this play, most of them will read the play, just read it through as an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And if the play makes sense to them, it means that subconsciously they have picked up a lot of behavioral truths about what people are doing and saying when. But those are from an audience's point of view, from a receptive point of view. When they get into an active point of view, which is now I'm going to act it, or if you just got people together like book club kind of things, except for drama, and they would get up and read, you know, every Friday night a new play to each other. As soon as they knew they were going to get up and read it, their mind goes into a different scope.
Right.
It goes into a different mode. It goes into a different area, which is, what am I going to do with this?
Right.
How am I going to give people impressions that I think it's supposed to have? And they do not draw on the subconscious information that they have gotten from reading it.
Mm.
Because they don't know that they've gotten any subconscious information from reading it as an audience.
Mm-hmm.
When an audience sits there as a receptor, it's not able after the play to do an analysis of the play. That's why when you see people after things, they see them on Broadway shows, you know, and then they do use them for advertisements. And they say, what did you think? Oh, the play was great. What did you like about it? Oh, it was wonderful. They don't even know what they liked about it. Oh, they might say the costumes were good, or the singers had great voices, or things like that, which are easy to evaluate.
Yeah.
Lee used to say about the reason musicals are so popular is because everybody up there, you can tell they can do it. Because if they are a dancer in the chorus and they fall, you say, well, that person can't dance. If you say that everything that they sing is flat, or they have no sense of melodic line, so they're always off tempo, as soon as they make any of these singers faux pas, then you know they just can't sing. They can't do it. Or tonight they're having a problem or whatever else. Mm-hmm. But in acting, you can't tell whether they're good or not most of the time. Because when you believe them, if you believe in the person, you're not evaluating them anymore because you think they're Hamlet now. A critic's job is to go and see a play and know, now I would have been taken in. Now I'm being taken in. To keep it an awareness, but only a critic. The audience, they just go in and they're pulled in, which is what the reader does when the first time they ever read it. But when they start to act, they don't know that they've got that information inside their subconscious. Mm-hmm. Because the way we read people subconsciously is not analytical, it is intuitive. When you meet somebody and say hello, you're reading them like crazy. But nobody meets somebody and says, hello, tell me about yourself so that I can watch you the whole way. Mm-hmm. Nobody does that. Not even, by the way, many people when they're interviewing. People don't do it naturally. In other words, they don't make the subconscious things that register also conscious. Now, if you meet somebody and it's a particular situation where you think this could be trouble, then
you're paying more attention,
start to pay attention. Yeah. You're walking down the street, it's late at night, a guy's ambling down the street on the other side, looking disheveled and whatever. And all of a sudden, he sees you and then takes a diagonal straight to you. and comes up and says, hey, buddy, have you got a match? And you say, I don't smoke. You don't say, like at a party, if somebody said, you got a match? No, I don't smoke. I don't smoke. You look at the person, you see what the hell is going on.
You're
here.
watching them.
That's what
That's
what a critic has to do. It's not defensive for the critic, but he has to watch. He has to analyze while he's doing it. Otherwise, people do not do it. And so people in the audience do it, and your actors, when they're reading the play, don't do it. So that's why you have to do it in the script interpretation work. Now, what happens is, as they have prepared to act this, they go through and see how many lines I have and what my scenes are like. And they'll read them out to them, listen to themselves and so forth, see how good they're going to be and all that kind of stuff before they come to the first rehearsal. And when they're doing that, and they're not really connecting to what they connected to intuitively when they read through it the first time, for just their information, just as an audience of the play. They're not connecting, as I said before, at all with any of that. So when they're doing that, they're doing other things. But they don't feel right doing the other things. And what they sometimes do is, she's surprised. Oh, John! They hear themselves do when they're practicing. Now, it doesn't feel right to them. So they say, oh, John! They try to do it more. Maybe that will make it feel right to them. Still doesn't feel right to them. But they don't know what else to do, so they think, well, I'm just not good at the oh, John part yet. Now, when they have read that play, they will have known subconsciously that they're not saying surprisingly, oh, John, but they're saying something about, John, I wouldn't expect this of you, if that's what the element of the play is. I'm using that as an example. That's the element in the play. What the author really intends is that it's not just general surprise. By the way, there's no such thing as general surprise. No. It's always very specific to the moment and to the person and to the kinds of things that you anticipate that they'll do since you know them. And now they're doing something that surprises you. And it might very well be, oh, John. That surprises me, but it's not, oh, John, ever. So when they practice that, they do not know anything except that I don't feel good about it.
Right.
Now, when you go through the experience of doing this line by line interpretation of the play for each line's dramatic meaning, not its verbal meaning, they get it now. And so now they know how to say it. And they want to know how to say it. Now, the process of doing that is not to tell them what it is, because then they say, well, that's your idea. I read it too. My idea is good as yours is. That's what they do intuitively. That's what they do in their mind, behaviorally.
Right.
Even if they're not people whose natural personality is
to be combative.
Combative or to be non-receptive. Even if it's the nicest, sweetest little receptive girl who says, oh, I just love being in the play, whatever he tells me. She's going to think, well, that's not what it's supposed to be when you tell her something. But when you elicit it from her by asking questions, she feels that she has made that discovery. Not that you made the discovery now are making her do it. She feels she has made that discovery. And it's hers now. And when she says it that way, she's happy to say it. 50% of getting an actor's work to be what it's supposed to be for the play is this process in the first 2 or 3 days. They're halfway home. They hadn't had a rehearsal that they think is a rehearsal yet. And they're halfway home because they know what these things mean now. And they know it in here, not through their ear because somebody told it to them. They know it in their mind and in here. Because when it's the thing that it actually is, people say, oh, yeah. There's an aha moment. Now I get it. And you can't knock them out of it. If you said, I want to change that moment later on, they won't do it. Because the right thing they know, they feel. And what that is that the thing that they had intuitively when they read the play is now connected to their intellectual understanding of that line. Those things connect. So both elements of their mind are now at one with what that line means. And that's why I say you can't make them give it up. Because even if you could try to make this understand something different, this inside, this intuitive response to the play, knows what it is. It knows what it is. They don't know up here. But the intuitive part knows, the subconscious part, the behavioral recognition part knows what it is.
You were saying, I think maybe last time, that, you know, if you're looking at a play and you say to yourself, well, I don't know why that is yet or what that is yet, but you'll keep searching until you find the answer. Right. And is it the same kind of thing when you find the answer, you say, aha, now I got it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Like, I think you might have mentioned No Man's Land at first, that when you first read it, the
Not
title...
only first.
Okay.
No, I read it several times before
before the title made, right?
Well, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They're all gay. And what you've got is 4 different descriptions of what a man is supposed to be. You've got somebody who is assertive and successful in life in his position. You've got, in a sense, a CEO mentality with one character. You've got another man who is sensitive and intuitive and poetic and knowing the thing that a human male is supposed to be. That's another character. You've got one guy who's with it up to the moment, knows exactly every place to go for the best
the hip guy.
Food. And then you've got one guy who's the muscle guy, who's strong and not particularly smart, but if you want somebody's neck broken, he can do it for you. Now, how we got into talking about that?
Well, we were talking about once you know, you know.
Yeah.
Once you get what it is.
Then the actor, you can't get them out of that, ever. And that, because they feel, yeah, that's right. It feels right. Nobody understands something and plays it from their understanding. They feel it. It reverberates inside. Now, that you get when you sit them down and have them understand each line. You get that kind of rational, intuitive connection that, as I said before, you can't get them to stop doing. You will probably have had the experience of hearing actors who want to play a role. I can play that role.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
It means that they're aware in the play of what all the realities are. Now, when they get up to do it, as I said a little earlier, they don't know what to do because they're not specific in their intuitive recognition. The intuition is very specific. Their mental awareness of what their intuition has done is not specific at all. So they have a general feeling, oh, gee, I could do that. Well, why? Well, there are very, very, very specific reasons why. And when you start going through line by line, it's all in the lines. All of the answers are really in the lines because that's all you have in the play. That's all they have. Actually, you have other things. You have to know a character, there's the whole thing. What does he say? What does he do? What do other people say about him? And, of course, is an element, too. Are the other people truthful? But generally, if you have 3 people at different times of the play talking about the characters being honest, then he's probably honest. It's not that he's fooled all 3 of the people. So those 3 things you always take into account.
Meaning, what does the character say about himself? What does he do? And what do other characters say about him?
Yeah. When you deal with what does he say, not just the words, but it means how he says it. You know Richard III is clever, not just because he's thought of these things, but how he talks about it, how he says it, what he says and how he says it. You get cleverness. Somebody who's not so clever is not going to say it the same way. Being articulate is not a verbal thing. Being articulate is that what I'm thinking, I can say. I'm aware enough to know what I'm thinking so that I know what words will capture exactly that instead of something else. And he's very articulate. Well, somebody who's not so articulate is not onto himself. He's not really aware of what he's feeling enough. He's feeling it very strongly, but for whatever psychological reasons, he's not.
Who is articulate? You said he's very articulate. You mean
A person
Okay.
is very articulate
Yeah.
when they take what they're feeling and sensing and knowing and put that into particular words that exactly capture that experience for someone else to recognize. And somebody who's not articulate is just really somebody who is intuitively general. He doesn't quite know what to do. He doesn't know what. That's what, if you'll actually see people do a read-through who don't do it in the processes I'm talking about, a table read-through, just we're all reading the play to each other, you can see they're not articulate with it. In other words, you wouldn't call the actor articulate with those lines. He said he doesn't know what to do with them, so he just does face value. That's not articulate, because you can see there's a disconnection between that person and how they're reading the lines. And what we want to do is make them articulate. We want to make them be connected with what they have experienced from reading the play beforehand, and that resides in their own tuition, and that now they know by doing the line. Now, I want to do that process with you for that poem. Mm-hmm. We'll say that poem is part of a play. Mm-hmm. We'll say it's an opening to a play. And because now what I want to do is demonstrate how one does this as a director.
Right.
Now, you are the speaker. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. Upon the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only, from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blank sand, listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return. Up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence, slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here, as on a darkling plain swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. Now, I tried to read that the way that I want to encourage you to get the people to read, essentially just for the sense of it. We're starting now with the rehearsal with you.
For script analysis.
Now, I'm the director now. I'm not somebody else reading your part.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to read through everybody, and we'll start at the beginning. And so that means the play starts out with your monologue. Mm-hmm. Who is this guy?
The person, the narrator, in essence, the person speaking.
It's somebody, there's a character speaking, right?
Right.
This is a monologue. The character says.
Well, I could say.
Who is the guy?
I could say he's a lover, because it seems like he's addressing his lover.
Yeah. He's 60-year-old lover, or what kind of lover? 20-year-old, 19, first time he's ever been with somebody, or?
I would say he is an experienced lover. Okay. He seems to have an ability to reflect on things. You know, it seems like he's he's lived a little because it seems like what he's referring to is
So
experiential.
Right. So can you give a kind of an age range?
I would say that he is middle-aged.
Middle-aged?
Yeah. Maybe he's 30, in his 30s, in his 40s. Seems like he's had some life experience.
Yeah, but how long does it take to have life experience?
Well, maybe not all that long. The tone of the piece is a little bit melancholy, a little bit of a disappointment. There's a little bit of a cynicism. That's why I say, he seems to have lived a little, because it seems like he's lost something along the way. He's become a little cynical.
Now, the monologue is direct address. Right?
Direct address?
In other words, he's talking to somebody.
Right. Yeah, he has commands. Listen.
Yeah.
Come to the window.
In other words, this is not somebody who's by himself ruminating on life.
No.
It's not. This is not a story about a man who cannot make up his mind.
No.
It's not that.
He's clearly with someone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and with a lover,
all right.
I would say.
So he's saying a whole lot of things, the nature of which are philosophical.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a person is he?
Oh, he's sensitive. He's a thinker. Intellectual, certainly sensitive to things, and thoughtful.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's used to using his mind,
right,
to describe the world, not just using his intuition to feel the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to deal with the world in relation to what's there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a dreamer,
mm-hmm.
although all of the things that he says are...
Right. He's poetic.
Right.
Because he describes things, even if cynical, the world which lies before us like a land of dreams.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when do you feel, at what age do you feel the world lies before you like a land of dreams? In other words...
You mean cynically or when?
No. When does a human being, because that line's not cynical, the world that lies before us like a land of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
No, it lies before us as if it were a land of dreams.
Right.
It's not.
But it's not. That's why I said it was cynical.
Yeah. But how old would you be before that recognition is something you already got?
You mean what age would you be before you attain what he already has attained?
If you were 19, would he be in recognition of that the world that looks out all before him is actually not going to be as hot as...
No, that's too young. Yeah.
Right. If he's 30 already and he's only now getting it, is he intelligent? Is he slow?
Mm-hmm.
Is he whatever?
Right. Yeah, that could be a little late. So I would say that this is like around the age of mid to late 20s.
Yeah, and could be 30.
Yeah.
It couldn't be 35, because if it's 35, he's stupid. You're just not catching on to this? You're 35? Somebody who I know who is my age wrote me something in an email. I thought, you're only catching on to this now? His persona is that people think he's intelligent.
Mm.
I thought, Jesus Christ, you're
right.
stupider than I thought. Because when it was written in the email, the thing that this person was saying to me was said as if this is something now I'm...
coming to terms with, that he's just coming...
Right.
That
I'm seeing. Oh, look at this. Oh, Jesus Christ, why didn't you see this 45 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So then you think about the person differently. He's a different character then.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what's the scene like? What's happening in the scene?
Well, it's a gorgeous setting. So it's a beautiful, beautiful view, and it's scenic.
Inside or outside?
Outside.
They're
looking at the sea and
yeah, that's outside.
Yeah.
Where are they?
They're inside. Come to the window.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're inside where? McDonald's.
Well, they're clearly on the coast here. On the.
What kind of inside I'm talking about?
Oh, I would say it's probably like a hotel. It's like a bedroom. I got the sense of come to the window, sweet as the night air.
Yeah, if they don't seem to be in a public place, right?
No.
Okay, so they're in a private place. So it's either a home or an apartment or whatever else.
Right.
So,
I mean,
or a hotel.
They're right on the water, so it could be.
Well, they're on the cliffs.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Dover Beach?
Not a lot. I know.
Have you ever seen the White Cliffs of Dover?
I think I've seen photos. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very high.
Yeah.
So when you're at Dover Beach, overlooking the sea, you're not on this little slip of sand down on the beach like a Florida or a California beach. You're up 200 feet looking off of these cliffs, because the cliffs are like a lot of the cliffs of California. You know, you come to the thing and it doesn't go down gradually to the ocean. You come and it drops down 200, 300, sometimes 400 feet. What's happened is that's where in the continental drifts, you know, the earth is on, the crust of the earth is not solid. It's tectonic plates that move constantly. And where you have those, like the coast of Ireland, jagged, that's because that land was ripped from being connected to something millions of years ago. It wasn't that it was a nice little mountain and the wind blew half of it away to show a jagged edge. No, that was connected to something else, but the continental drift
pulled it apart
millions of years ago, and that's what Dover Beach is like. It's all white, by the way. That's the White Cliffs of Dover is a famous thing. So there's something overlooking the sea, but it's from a high position. If they went out and walked straight, they wouldn't be on the beach, except if they fell 200 feet, then they'd be on the beach. Well, being up high and looking over the ocean is a different experience than being on a flat beach looking over the ocean. It's a more panoramic view. From there, you can see the gleaming lights in France, because France is only 20 miles away.
Because that's the English Channel there.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So they're inside.
We
know it's night.
Yeah.
So what's happening? They're in private. They're not in public.
Right.
So it's a bedroom. Because at night, the tone of it, by the way, is quiet. It's not an argumentative tone. So what impels this guy to go to the window and start rhapsodizing?
Well, just sort of the sense of romance, evening. So perhaps...
Yeah, but do people do that? I'm sitting here talking to you. Hold on. Let me go and rhapsodize at the window for a while.
No. And it's not argumentative, as you said,
Right.
as if there was an argument. Right.
They're not in an argument now.
Right.
What is his appeal to the other person?
To be true.
Our love, let us be true to one another.
Yeah.
Why would you say that? If you're in a relationship with somebody, whatever the relationship, everything is going fine, you say, oh, let's be true to... Well,
no, you wouldn't say that.
You feel bad?
Unless there's trouble.
Yeah.
So perhaps there's trouble in the relationship, and...
So why does he say this now?
Because they've argued about something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you are in an argument, there's frustration on both people's parts, which bring to anger. Frustration always leads to conflict. Frustration always leads to anger. Depression, by the way, is only anger turned inward. The person has been constantly frustrated about something, and that they're not doing, and they're letting themselves down. And they don't know any of this. They're not aware of it intellectually or through their reasoning. But emotionally, they turn it in upon themselves. And that's what depression actually is anger turned inward. And so what happens is that we don't do these things unless there's a problem. So the potentiality is that they've had a fight, as you say. Now, did you notice anything I just did? What I did was a directorial thing. What, the last thing I said?
The last thing you said before we started doing this?
No, the last thing I just said out of my mouth a moment ago.
Was it that, as you just said? You said something as you just said. Yeah.
Now, you did say it before.
Right.
They're probably fighting. What I'm doing now is underlining it, but not telling you, look, they're probably fighting.
Right.
So I'm giving you the credit for having discovered that, rather than, now you see what I told you is true.
Right.
That you don't want.
Yeah.
And when I said, as you just said, I could see in you, in other words, there was an accepted, yeah, I said it.
Right.
that made it a positive thing for you to take that piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only reason I did that was that a little earlier I felt I was saying too much.
Uh-huh.
I was pulling and that not leading you well enough.
I got you.
So when I was aware of that, now I said, as you just said. All right. So now we've talked about and discovered there's a situation going on here.
Yeah.
And it's two people who, something in their relationship, have been at odds with each other. Now, in a fight, what happens is you talk until the frustration and the anger are out. You make your point as many times until the person couldn't possibly not understand it now. And they make their point as much as they can. And then what happens?
There's a silence, right?
Yeah.
A separating of ways.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something. Now what?
Now what? Yeah. It's like we both have let all this frustration out. And now we don't know what to do with the frustration. I mean, in a sense, it's
we don't know how to do. It's been expressed.
Where do we go from here?
But it's now that we've expressed our frustration. Where do we go from here? Is right. Okay. What kind of relationship is this?
Lover, clearly.
Which has what qualities?
What qualities?
When did these people meet?
I would say
he picked her up in a bar, or he
no. I would say it's a committed relationship. I would say it's like a committed relationship, maybe even a husband and wife.
Right.
Yeah. Committed relationship.
Committed relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we don't want difficulty in committed relationships.
No.
We recognize there always is because it's two people, but it's not comfortable to go through those things. What we want in a committed relationship is the relationship, the good things, the things that we are committing to. Mm-hmm. So they have been quarreling over something. What kind of thing have they been quarreling over?
Well, he does say, let us be true. So that could be a hint right there. To one another. Although, sometimes being true can be a lot of things. You can look at that in a broader sense. A narrow sense, you would say, don't cheat. Let's not cheat on each other.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a more narrow sense of being true to one another.
Now, generally through the kinds of language, does this seem to be a broad sense or a narrow sense?
Not sure how to evaluate that. Because obviously the language is very descriptive, but in a poem, of course, it would be, So it's very specific.
Well, it's not a poem. This is a man talking.
I would say probably would be more the more specific, the more narrow, which would be...
in other words, you remember my short story that we worked on in class of the husband whose wife went dallying for 10 days and now he has found out about it?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the first thing he says in the story is, I don't know how I'll keep from murdering you. Mm-hmm. He says, oh, Jesus, George. That's very specific. That's a narrow thing. Mm-hmm. This kind of language is not like that.
This is a more, so this is
it's a philosophical language. So that's broad.
Right.
Philosophical language is broad by its nature.
Right.
He's talking about through all time.
Right. So let us be true to each other would be let us be honest with each other. Yeah, that's the one thing we have.
And why is it the one thing we have?
It's our honesty. Because life...
because what does he say?
Because life has neither joy nor love,
right.
nor light, nor servitude, nor peace, nor help for pain.
Okay.
In other words, the world is a cruel world. It's indifferent at best, cruel at worst. And it will offer no help from pain.
Right.
So. Okay.
Now, from talking about it like this, we have a better sense of what the scene is about.
Mm-hmm. And that's, by the way, what I meant. I think that's an interesting point when I said, well, geez, Harvey, I don't know how to evaluate whether this would be the more narrow or the large. Because I didn't know how to evaluate the fact that the language here is poetic and specific, but I didn't know how to get that because it's philosophical. Then it's a broader sense, not what you would say true means you cheated on me.
Right.
Which is a very narrow meaning of the phrase, yeah.
It's not, This language is not. I don't know how I'll keep from murdering you.
Right.
That's very different.
Right, right.
Okay, so we have a better sense now of what this monologue does in starting our play.
Mm-hmm.
So let's read it.